Her claws were at my throat before I even heard her move. "Human," she breathed, and the word curled from her lips like smoke. "You're getting predictable." I pressed my back against the cold metal wall of the cargo bay, feeling my pulse hammer against the razor-sharp tips of her fingers. Commander Veylith Kor'vane, of the Thessari Imperial Fleet, stood close enough that I could count the silver flecks in her violet eyes, close enough that her breath warmed my skin. "I wasn't running," I lied. "You've been avoiding me for 6 rotations." She tilted her head, that predatory gesture I'd learned to recognize. Her bone-white hair spilled over one shoulder like liquid moonlight. "Every time I enter a room, you find an excuse to leave. Every time I request your presence, you send excuses through intermediaries." She was right. I had been running. The question was whether she knew why. The Thessari were apex predators from a death world that made Earth look like a vacation resort. 7 feet of lean muscle, retractable claws and teeth, designed for tearing through armored prey. Commander Kor'vane was considered beautiful by her people's standards, and terrifying by everyone else's. I was the only human on a ship of 3,000 Thessari warriors. A cultural liaison, they called me. A diplomatic experiment. A pet, some whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. And I had made the catastrophic mistake of catching the commander's attention. "Your heart rate is elevated," she observed, pressing closer. Her knee slid between my legs, pinning me in place. "Your pupils are dilated. You're sweating." A pause. "Are you afraid of me, Marcus Chen?" "Yes. Absolutely." She could kill me in 17 different ways before I finished my next sentence. But that wasn't why I was running. Should I be afraid? I asked instead. Something flickered in her eyes. Amusement, maybe, or hunger. With her species, the two were often indistinguishable. "That depends," she said softly, "on what you think I want from you." Her claws retracted. She stepped back, giving me room to breathe, but her gaze never left mine. It felt like being watched by a tiger deciding whether to pounce. "The captain's reception is in 3 hours," she said, her tone shifting to something almost professional. "Almost? You will attend, you will stand beside me, and you will stop running." It wasn't a request. "And if I refuse?" She smiled then, a slow, dangerous curve of lips that revealed just a hint of those killing teeth. "Then I'll have to catch you." She turned and walked away, her movements fluid and silent, despite her size. I stood there for a long moment, heart pounding, trying to remember how to breathe. 6 months ago, Commander Kor'vane had saved my life during a pirate raid. She'd killed 8 boarders to reach me, and when she found me bleeding out in a storage closet, she'd carried me to the medical bay herself. I still remembered waking up to find her sitting beside my bed, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "Why?" I'd asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Because you're mine," she'd said simply, "and no one takes what's mine." I hadn't understood what she meant. Not then. I was starting to understand now. And that's exactly why I kept running. The captain's reception was everything I'd feared and worse. The observation deck had been transformed into something between a war council and a ballroom. The Thessari officers in their formal blacks moved through the space like shadows, their conversations a mixture of military strategy and barely veiled dominance displays. The viewports behind them framed a dying star, its red light casting everything in shades of blood. I stood at Commander Kor'vane's side exactly as ordered. She'd sent formal attire to my quarters, a black suit cut in Thessari military style, tailored perfectly to my smaller human frame. I didn't ask how she'd gotten my measurements. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. "You look uncomfortable," she observed, not looking at me. Her attention was on the crowd, tracking threats and alliances with practiced ease. "I'm the only human in a room full of apex predators," I said. Discomfort seems appropriate. You're under my protection. No one here would dare touch you. That's not as reassuring as you think it is. Now she did look at me, one eyebrow raised in what might have been amusement. Explain. I chose my words carefully. Being protected by the most dangerous person in the room just means I have to worry about one threat instead of many. You think I'm a threat to you? I think you're not telling me what you want. And in my experience, powerful people who don't explain what they want are always dangerous. She was quiet for a moment. Around us, the reception continued, officers greeting each other with formal nods, subordinates deferring to their superiors, the complex dance of military hierarchy playing out in 100 small gestures. "Come with me," she said finally. It wasn't a request. She led me through a side door, down a corridor I didn't recognize, until we reached a small observation lounge. Empty. Private. The same dying star filled the viewport, closer here, its light painting her pale features in shades of crimson. "I'm not good at this," she said, and for the first time, I heard something vulnerable in her voice. "My people don't. We're not subtle. When we want something, we take it. When we desire someone, we claim them. Is that what you're doing? Claiming me? I'm trying to court you." The words seemed to cost her something. By the Thessari standards, I've been remarkably patient. I stared at her. "Court me? You survived when you should have died. You show no fear when speaking to your superiors. You look me in the eye when warriors twice your size cower." She stepped closer, and I found myself stepping back until I hit the viewport. Cold glass against my shoulders, heat radiating from her body. "You fascinate me, Marcus Chen. You have from the moment you came aboard. I'm human. Your crew calls me a pet. My crew says many things. Most of them are fools." Her hand came up, claws carefully retracted, to trace the line of my jaw. "You are not a pet. You are not prey. You are—" She paused, searching for the word, a challenge. "And what happens when you catch me? When the challenge ends?" Her eyes met mine, and for a moment the mask slipped. I saw something raw there, something hungry but also something achingly lonely. "I don't know," she admitted. "I've never caught anyone worth keeping before." Before I could respond, she kissed me. It was not a gentle kiss. Thessari didn't do gentle. It was heat and possession and teeth against my lower lip, not quite breaking skin, but reminding me that they could. Her body pressed against mine, all lean muscle and barely restrained power, and I felt myself drowning. When she finally pulled back, I was gasping for air. "Run again," she said, her voice rough. "See what happens." Then she was gone, leaving me alone with the dying star and the taste of her on my lips. I stayed there for a long time, trying to remember all the reasons this was a terrible idea. I couldn't think of a single one that mattered. 3 days later, everything fell apart. The attack came without warning. Void Raiders, a pirate faction that had been growing bold in the outer territories. They hit us with 3 ships at once, and suddenly the corridors were filled with smoke and screaming, and the thunder of weapons fire. I was in the engineering section when the first hull breach occurred. The explosion threw me against a bulkhead, and for a moment, everything went white. When my vision cleared, I was lying in a pool of someone else's blood, and there was a raider standing over me with a plasma rifle aimed at my head. "Human," he snarled. A Vorax, I realized, all scales and teeth, and pure malice. "The commander's pet. You'll make excellent leverage." He reached for me, and then he died. Kor'vane came through the smoke like a ghost of death itself. I didn't see her kill him, just the beginning of her movement and then the end, the Vorax crumpling with his throat torn out. 3 more raiders behind him. She moved through them like a blade through water, and in seconds, All 4 were dead. She crouched beside me, her hands running over my body, checking for injuries. Her claws were still extended, still dripping. "You're hurt," she said. Not a question. "Minor, I'm fine. You're not fine. You're never fine. You humans are so fragile." She stopped abruptly, and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Fear. "Can you walk?" I could, barely. She half carried me through the ship, cutting down anyone who got in our way, until we reached the emergency shelter near the bridge. Other survivors were already there, wounded officers, terrified crew. Kor'vane deposited me with the medics and turned to leave. "Where are you going? To kill every raider on this ship?" Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. "And then to find whoever gave them our patrol route. Because this was not a random attack, Marcus. They knew exactly where we'd be. They came for you specifically. For me. Why would? Because someone knows." She met my eyes. "Someone knows that the commander of the Third Fleet has a weakness. Someone is going to use you against me." The battle raged for 6 more hours. I sat in that shelter, listening to the distant thunder of combat, surrounded by people who didn't bother hiding their stares. The commander's pet. The commander's weakness. Is that what I was? When it was finally over, when the last raider was dead and the ship was limping toward the nearest repair dock, Kor'vane came for me. She looked like something out of a nightmare. Black blood, Vorax, not Thessari, covered her from head to toe. Her formal uniform was torn, revealing wounds beneath that she hadn't bothered to bandage. And her eyes were completely empty. "It was Admiral Korath," she said flatly. "He saw us at the reception. He leaked our position to the raiders. He wanted you dead to hurt me, to prove I was weak. What did you do?" I challenged him to single combat. A pause. "He's no longer a problem." I should have been horrified. I should have been afraid. She had just killed an admiral, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Thessari fleet, because he'd tried to hurt me. Instead, I felt something else entirely. "You're hurt," I said. "Let me help." For a long moment, she just looked at me. Then, slowly, the emptiness in her eyes began to fade. "Why don't you run?" she asked, and her voice cracked on the last word. "You should run. You should have run months ago. I'm everything humans fear. I am death, and violence, and dominance. I will never be gentle. I will never be safe. Why do you keep—" She stopped. I took her hand. Carefully, gently. "Let's get you to medical," I said. She let me lead her. The most dangerous warrior in the fleet, covered in the blood of her enemies, let a fragile human guide her through the corridors like a lost child. And I understood something then. Something I'd been running from for months. She wasn't the dangerous one. I was. Because she would burn the galaxy down for me. And I was starting to want to let her. "Why do you keep running from me?" she demanded. It was 2 weeks after the attack. The ship was repaired. The dead were mourned, and Admiral Korath's execution had been ruled justified self-defense. The fleet had a new admiral now, one who'd made it very clear that Commander Kor'vane's human was not to be touched. We were in her private quarters. She'd asked me to come, and for the first time, I hadn't hesitated. The room was sparse by human standards, a bed, a desk, weapons mounted on the walls. But there were also books. Actual physical books, in 6 languages, stacked on every surface. And on her desk, a small holograph that I recognized. It was me, laughing at something caught in a candid moment in the mess hall. I didn't even know she'd taken it. "I'm not running anymore," I said. "That's not what I asked." She stood by the viewport, arms crossed, looking not at me, but at the stars beyond. "I asked why you kept running." "For months. Every time I got close, you pulled away. Every time I thought, She stopped herself. Commander Kor'vane, who had killed an admiral without blinking, couldn't finish that sentence. I walked toward her, slowly, giving her time to stop me if she wanted to. She didn't. I was running because I was scared, I said. Of me? No, Dao. I reached her, close enough to touch, but not touching. I was scared of me, of what I was feeling, of what it would mean to feel it. She finally looked at me. I don't understand. You're not subtle. Your species doesn't do subtlety. But mine does. We hide what we feel. We second-guess ourselves. We run from anything that makes us vulnerable. I took a breath. You terrify me, Veylith. Not because you're dangerous, but because when I'm with you, I forget to be afraid. And that's the scariest thing I've ever felt. Silence. Then, slowly, her mask cracked. Not the confident commander. Not the deadly warrior. Just a woman, lonely and fierce, and aching for something she didn't know how to ask for. I don't know how to do this, she said. I don't know how to be gentle, safe, all the things humans want. I don't want gentle. I reached up, cupped her face in my hands. I want you, exactly as you are, claws and teeth and all. I will hurt you, not intentionally, but my instincts. Then I'll bleed, and I'll heal, and I'll stay anyway. She made a sound then, something between a laugh and a sob. Her forehead dropped to rest against mine, and I felt her trembling. This warrior who had faced death 1,000 times, trembling at the thought of being loved. You should run, she whispered. You should run and never look back. No. Why? And there it was. The question she'd been asking all along. Not why are you running from me, but why would you stay? I gave her the only answer I had. Because I'm not your pet. I'm not your weakness. I'm not your prey. I pulled back enough to look into her eyes. I'm your equal. And I choose you. Not because I have to. Not because you caught me. Because you're worth choosing. She froze. For a long moment, she didn't move, didn't breathe. I could see her processing my words, turning them over, trying to find the trap. There wasn't one. Your equal, she repeated slowly. No one has ever. Then, everyone else was blind. She kissed me then. Not like before. Not possession, not dominance. This was something else entirely. This was surrender, freely given. This was two people choosing each other across an impossible divide. When we finally broke apart, she was smiling. A real smile, soft and wondering and absolutely beautiful. You know this will be difficult, she said. My people will not understand. Your people will fear for you. The entire galaxy will think you're mad. Probably. And you don't care. I care about exactly one thing in this galaxy right now. I traced the line of her jaw, exactly as she'd done to me weeks ago. And she's standing right in front of me. She laughed, a real laugh, warm and surprised, and utterly joyful. Then she pulled me close, and we stood there together, watching the stars stream past the viewport. I'm still going to be terrible at this, she warned. I know. I'll probably threaten to kill anyone who looks at you wrong. I'm counting on it. She pressed her lips to my temple, and I felt her smile against my skin. Human, she murmured. My human. And for the first time, I didn't want to run. I was exactly where I wanted to be,